Hey everybody, welcome to Boris'Builds. I'm Boris, and today we're talking aquariums and specifically reverse osmosis and auto water top off. So stay tuned. Okay, first off, try to ignore this noisy pump here because I got to change that and I'm just not doing that right now. But anyways, what I'd like to talk about is reverse osmosis and auto top off. I started off as most aquarium hobbyists did with my little 10-gallon tanks that I would use some conditioner to treat tap water and add it. I think the first couple of times I put a spare heater I had in the bucket to get it to the right temperature so it wasn't too much of a shock to the water. Then I figured what would happen if I just slowly added it. So I came up with an elaborate 12-volt pump system that could drip fill these aquariums, which required incredible timing and stuff like that to make sure I didn't overflow the aquariums. After I got tired of treating water and adding it that way, I decided to invest in an RO system. Because I had no idea what I was doing, I went with this RO Buddy system from Aquatic Life. And I slowly went from filling up a bucket to I directly piped it to the tanks, to a series of float valves. These are the float valves. I have one in each tank. This guy just fills from a little misting nozzle because it's for, we'll see if we can find him. I got a little vampire crab in here. I'm gonna probably get a few more. But anyways, I use these float valves and they're plumbed to this distribution block. 3D printed this holder and these clips for the RO tubing. I got a couple of them all the way to kind of keep it tidy. I'm gonna make that file available. It'll probably be a link in the description to Thingiverse. And this system has worked very well for the last about a year. I know you're supposed to change the filters every 6 months, they recommend, but you know, it's a 50-gallon per day system and I use less than 50 gallons a month. So I figured letting it go for a year wasn't a big deal, but we're at the year-in point, maybe a bit more. So I decided it was time to change the filters, the sediment and the carbon filter. I did not realize how expensive those Aquatic Life filters were. It's a fantastic kit, it's a fantastic setup. If you're like me and you have no idea how any of this stuff works, I would recommend purchasing it. But for the price of one of those filters, I was able to buy a 6-pack of these Geek Pure water filters. They're 5 micron and should be just fine for my setup. And to make those work though, you need a couple housings. And because I did not read it very well, the description when I bought it, I bought the one with 3/4 inch MPT ports. So I got to add a couple reducers to get it down to half to get it down to the 1/4 inch water line. And this might be, well, I assume it's kind of ridiculous for what I need, but at 40 bucks it wasn't too bad. This RO auto top off system has been a bit of a project over the last year or so, and it went from a mess of hoses to what you see before you, which is actually pretty clean. You could easily mount this inside a cabinet underneath your tank if that's what you want to do. I'm going to make the files available. There should be a link in the description if you take a look. However, if there is interest, I was thinking about printing some for sale. Just comment below if you think you would like to buy one, and if there's enough interest, I will make them available for sale. One thing to note is not all RO valves are the same. There are different sizes, and as you can see, this one does not snap in. However, with these extra hose supports, it should work no matter what size your valve is, as long as it's not too big, I guess. It's more there just to give you something to turn against at this point. However, I modeled it specifically for these RO valves that I got off Amazon, and I'll put a link to them in the description as well. Okay, so this is my newer setup with these are Geek Pure 10 by 2.5 filter cartridge housings, and in there are Geek Pure 10 by 2.5 filter cartridges. You have your sediment and your carbon filter, and then we're reusing my Aquatic Life RO membrane. So we have our water come from our timer all the way, and it goes into this membrane filter, then into this one, then into this one. You have your filtered water, and your wastewater goes through a flow restrictor, and then it goes into this valve here. When you cut the flow of filtered water, the buildup of pressure in this valve will cut the wastewater flow to automatically shut the system off. And the reason I have that is because of the float valves I have on the tanks. Basically, if I shut it off here, or if the float valve cuts the water, it'll also cut the wastewater discharge, which stops the system. The timer is kind of a redundancy thing because I probably dumped a couple gallons of water filling once because I had forgot. I have ADHD and it is a problem. But this whole system is also designed to be transportable. I can shut it off, pull it off the wall, put it wherever I want, hook it back up, and I think it turned out very well. It's a little bit easier to wrap your head around than the bundle of pipes and filters that the RO Buddy was. It's a great little setup if you want to have something tucked in a cabinet or something, but I have a little space here, and these filter housings weren't too bad. I think they were about $40 a pop. Again, I'll put a link to everything that I used in the description. I'm going to try and find filter housings though with 1/2-inch MPT outputs, inputs and outputs, because I didn't read very well, and I bought the one with 3/4 inch. So it required a little adapting to get down to the 1/2-inch MPT to 1/4 inch water line push to connect. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If you learned a little bit, please consider a like or a comment or a subscription and build some things.